for now, let's invent a new name for this podcast. So let's call it Go Big or Go Home podcast.
Do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. It's starting as being like a bit of a joke. Each time we are recording a session, we are doing a new branding for the podcast.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
but potentially, like they will be part of the audience. Will tell which formats they like, and then we will make it something regular.
Awesome.
That's how we do it here.
Awesome.
But before we go further, please, Josh, introduce yourself.
Yeah. So Joshua Howard, I'm an associate with Redbeard Ventures. We have an amazing partnership with Flow. But we kind of have three vehicles. So to start, started out as a syndicate in 2021. And I've grown to one of the largest syndicates now on AngelList. So 4,500 LPs, and we've invested about $75 million through the syndicate itself. And so the syndicate's about 50% generalist, 50% Web3 and frontier tech. Raised Fund 1 in 2022, so right after, $25 million fund. Core Web3 thesis there. So some investments across both include, like Layer Zero, Celestia, Shardium, Unstoppable Domains, Dapper Labs, a few others. And then third is Denari Labs, which we'll dive into, is our tokenomics accelerator. So there we're partnering with, some of the major service providers, so GSR, Fenwick, Insomnia Labs, and others. And then we're partnering with protocols and platforms, so Celo, Futureverse, and Flow, and running an accelerator with them. We're investing $100K in each company that comes through, and we have tokenomics experts in-house that are providing some specific support, helping builders come on and build in some of these incredible ecosystems. So
that's amazing. That's and I love like to see like the whole support like that and the focus, and also like some specific skills like tokenomics, because that's a word that is being used a lot, and we can definitely see when there is an expert and when there is not an expert behind a project.
For sure.
Tokenomics, it's a really tricky topic, and it should be always like considered really carefully.
For sure.
I kind of see like all those apps in Web3 and protocol in general. Like before, we used to have like app that was kind of like you created the app and then you were pushing the content to the user. And so that was like a kind of like easier way to manage the economy of the product. Now, when you create a product on Web3 or a protocol, you're creating a system with stakeholders all around interacting with the system, and you have like an inside economy that you want to carefully, you want to create like the right parameter. We always say like code is law, and so like you want to put in the code like the commitments of this economy so that you give the right rules to all the stakeholders so they can play, grow, and nurture each other.
So, I mean, look, the right roles, and then like I said, the classic kind of sinks and faucets discussion where at the end of the day, what you're doing, it comes, having an economics background is helpful when building tokenomics, and then you want to make sure you're, one, creating real mechanisms for value to accrue, and then capturing value. And that's becomes the conversation there. And we've seen prominent examples of ecosystems just not properly capturing value, but, whether, and then routing that value, whether it's going back to your treasury or whatever the case, understanding the interplay and what sort of behavior incentivizing is the name of the game. All right, so.
Definitely. Just for the audience, so we are recording this podcast and this discussion between Josh and I today because we are starting to collaborate together, and we are super excited to finally announce that we're gonna launch an amazing program in between Denari Labs and Flow Blockchain. So this program will be a way to accelerate the growth of many different projects building on Flow, and going forward, like looking to like this beautiful momentum that's gonna happen with Crescendo Upgrade, where that's gonna release like ton of new opportunities based on like ecosystem expansion, but also like new features in the new features for the programming language, new features at protocol level, amazing new spec to have like the architecture scaling even more faster than it's already scaling. So just for the audience, that's why we are recording this discussion, to make sure that like the audience can like be part of this new excitement, this exciting announcement.
Yep.
And potentially it's already live. Potentially that will be live a couple of days regarding on when you are watching this podcast. But yeah, definitely apply to the program if you need any support from.
We're excited. We'll dive in. There's a story to be told from the developer perspective on why Crescendo matters, why Flow matters, who does best building there, why the app layer matters. So we'll dive into it. But
that's great. We'll have time to dive into it later. But I would love to have a bit more information also regarding like your background. I mean,
for sure.
VC role in the ecosystem is a lot of people are trying to do a great job at this role. A lot of people are just trying to reach this role. So it's like there is a lot of mystery around this role.
Yeah, we can talk all day about it. I think so in terms of how I started or the journey in. So yeah, I mean, I think so. I'll start with my background, and then kind of there are some differences across. I spent some time in Web 2 VC, so we call it, and obviously with Redbeard now, so can talk through kind of some of the differences there, et cetera. But generally, for me, I was a hustler in college. Is my background. So when you think about, and most people know this, so when you think about kind of the three things you allocate time to in life, it can be like friends, like personal life, sleep, and work. And I just all eggs in one of those in the bottom right corner, work. And it's not a joke. I mean, in college, all I did was we had a co-working space. I would go there. I'd spend all day there, go to class. I go hoop maybe, and then go to CAF. Like that was like all I did. So starting, I was a double major in finance and entrepreneurship, double minor economics and philosophy. I'm a politics guy as well. So if anyone ever wants to talk geopolitics or anything, hit me up. But I was an entrepreneurship major to begin, and I wanted to do something that didn't require just, having to go be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be an entrepreneurship major because it's one of the places that self-selects for the people who are curious across domains, and want to and have a certain risk tolerance, right? To even go be an entrepreneurship major, let alone go learn this stuff. Like it requires a certain belief in yourself where it's like, okay, I could go get an engineering degree, but instead I'm deciding to do this. And then also the adjunct professors that put you around, et cetera. So I was there and wanted to get something with more of a finance background. So I just kind of looked up, like literally Google hustle, just started searching like, what are the things in between finance and entrepreneurship that matter? VC came up. My journey kind of started in 2018, 2019. So this was before a lot of the like VC fellowships were created, et cetera. Didn't even know who like a Bessemer was or any of those types of players, and saw that some of the VC firms were getting early in doing that. So saw the Bessemer Fellowship. Started out, so actually saw Ripple Ventures Fellowship. Ripple's a really good firm out of Toronto, traditional B2B SaaS firm. First started interning in my local area, so was at what's called Venture Noir, and that was an accelerator, et cetera, ecosystem support player. Started interning there, hustling, and then got the Ripple Ventures Fellowship, and that was just literally didn't know anyone there, knew no one in Toronto. I was in the middle of nowhere, Arkansas. And you just gotta kill the interviews, to be honest. Like you just gotta stand out.
How do you stand out? In this
listen. So I obsess when I do things. So I had like ecosystem at Northwest Arkansas is unique where it has some entrepreneurship activity enough to sell, right? And you have big players there, so like Walmart, Tyson, JB, they're all headquartered there, and Walmart has this kind of long arm statue where they make all of their suppliers around the country have an office there. So there's a lot of like activity. And so I had an ecosystem map of all of the, entrepreneurs or accelerators in town, showed that I can hustle at a big university and find, student entrepreneurs. And so they wanted unpaid labor to do that. And I was happy to do it at the time. And so, started there. And then from there, right, once you get in, it's about, like reputation past that. And so fortunately, did well in my first opportunity and did 3 more VC fellowships from there. Had a network, Worked as an analyst for a while before joining Redbeard Ventures at a couple other firms, was angel investing, et cetera, and joined Redbeard earlier this year.
That's really exciting.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think this advice counts also a lot when for any kind of builders that are trying to launch like a new organization or a new product into like any kind of ecosystem, like not the paying for free advice, but the working for free advice, sorry. But the advice regarding of like making sure you map the entire ecosystem and you try to understand, because like Web3 is a big puzzle. Yeah. And so you want to understand what's the piece that is missing to make sure that you reinforce and enhance this big synergy that is interoperability. And so you want to make sure that like you can connect like some things about liquidity, about data, about, I mean, liquidity is data, but like
make sure you're not reinventing the wheel.
Exactly.
When it comes to stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. So also like if like for anyone that is just starting to look at to build, like definitely like mapping the ecosystem first is definitely the first step to say, okay, what's needed. And then you try to mix it with your own passion, with your own skills, with your own
your own little flair.
Exactly, exactly. And where can you like make the difference? I mean, I'm not a VC, but I'm a big fan of building stuff, and I did it a lot in the past.
You've done some cool stuff. So,
that was fun. We had a fun ride. And why did you join like the Web3 ecosystem and philosophy?
Yeah, well, I mean, so I was a fintech guy coming out of, starting my career, and I think for me, the message of like obviously in the early days, like I started in like the 2017 ICO boom is when I got kind of familiar with Web3, etc. And I feel like our cohort is maturing now. It's about 6-7 years now since most of us who came in during that wave were here. And so for me, the message around financial inclusion, et cetera, was the initial. But I mean, when you think about crypto as a whole, to a degree, it is sort of considering financial applications first, it's sort of a shadow banking system in some ways. And so there's activity that mirrors traditional finance. And so understanding at a root level how a financial system is built. I have articles written on this. Understanding how a financial system's built, that for a nerd is amazing. Yeah. So I would love that one. But then I say too, the deeper you go into Web3, right, the more fascinating and I guess clear the edge cases of technology. Like when you look at the kinds of people this attracts and the sort of builders that are here, whether it's DeepIn, whether it's decentralized AI, those are areas where, I want to be at the cutting edge of innovation. And like, again, whatever brings you in, what keeps me here is the level of kind of talent and creativity. Yeah.
I totally agree with you. Like the excitement of the space is all about like the people building it. Making sure that you can leverage the knowledge of, if you're working in DeFi, for example, or focusing in DeFi or tokenomics, like making sure you can leverage the lesson from the past in traditional finance, so that you can make it better in decentralized finance. I mean, for I'm not an expert in this, but like definitely like the first step was like mirroring like the different element that already existed on finance. Also playing with all the things that wasn't allowed anymore in finance. And lucky us now, that's regulation can be a good thing sometimes. Yeah, for sure. We are different aspects to see regulation. Regulation can be legal. Regulation can be in the code directly. So how do you create like the standards?
Working on that.
Exactly. The standards, the commitments of the different protocols to create like those like a respectful environment for the user, because you don't want to getting lost.
Well, and I mean, I think to that point that we can kind of keep going, but I think self-regulation is really important, and not really like obviously the industry itself setting its own rules. There's places across industries where all sorts of players do that. Whether in the food industry, we could go down the line. Big industries, they have the ability to influence kind of policy, and that's not really what I'd advocate for. I think just in this line of our conversation, I'd say the effort to comply is more important than than if the rules are there yet, right? The rules need to be there, right? But the effort to try and do things in a way that complies with, SEC direction or et cetera direction, the government direct, like all that's really important for the health and longevity of our space. Giving ourselves norms that are compliant is important. So,
yeah, I mean, like you wanna free the innovation with like building like a safe sandbox and a safe playground where you can like tweak, break, and create new models all the time. But at one point, if you want to really like go at scale and like offer this solution to the mass and to the
it's gonna happen one way or another. Yeah,
you need also to play with other market rules. Otherwise, you stay in your own own corner. And if it's for the sake of innovation and research, why not? If you're aiming to hit the mass market, you definitely need to play with other people. Otherwise, you just stay by yourself.
For sure.
And by saying that, like pointing out like the difference in between like Web 2, Web 3, classic finance, decentralized finance. In your point of view, what makes a good VC in the Web 3 industry?
It's a great point. I think, and this goes back to the previous question because I don't know if I fully answered, but starting out with like difference between Web 2 and Web 3, and then what makes, I'd argue, a good VC before a good Web 3 VC. There are specific things that come with the culture of Web 3. Be transparent, know what you're talking about. Don't waste people's time. Right. Be helpful. Don't get in the way. Don't be a bad actor. All that stuff is, I'd say, 10 times more. Like it's very important in a space like Web3, where you have a ton of smart people who are well connected and folks are generally nice, and it's kind of people first industry in a lot of ways. Being a good person takes you a long way in Web3. And that's just good business. But so differences between Web 2 and Web 3, and then kind of like what makes a good VC, et cetera, et cetera. I think to answer first, what makes a good Web 3 VC? Again, I think being high context is incredibly important in Web 3. I think, like, say in fintech, and even like comparing, this is actually good, comparing like fintech and Web3, the margins for innovation, say in fintech, are so much smaller than, say, Web3. And fintech is a smaller section of a type of innovation versus like Web3 can include sort of fintech and other things. But just to say, going from like a new HR payment tool to like a new WeFunder, like crowdfunding tool or something, like, sure, like if we're thinking in terms of standard deviations, it might be like a standard deviation range of innovation in fintech over like 2 years or 5 years. In Web3, you might have 4 standard deviations of innovation, where like the kinds of conversations where you're having as a VC from 2021, what you're looking at, Curve, balance, a lot of DeFi stuff at that time, versus like now just, again, decentralized AI taking off and other things. The industry can change dramatically in a short amount of time. And so being high context, understanding the actual leverage being pulled that, could push market trends, that's really important. That only comes with time and research. So I'll say that's one in Web3 is you can't BS. It'll sift you out. I'd say 2, being aware, like, again, being a good person, but then also just in your execution. So I'd say 2, writing or having clear written theses. Like, you can operate by gut in Web3 a bit, but especially as a VC, having clear written theses, I'd argue, is really important. So making sure your thinking is clear and repeatable, right? Where it's not just like gut instincts, et cetera. That's just an operational thing from a business perspective that the business of running a VC firm. And then I'd say 3, your reputation management, right? I think reputation in anything can get you places, but especially in Web3, being a preferred person or preferred brand, again, that all comes from the one-on-one interactions you have with people. And so what really excites us about, say, Flow or et cetera is, whether it's chatting with Roham and et cetera, and, meeting the whole team, this is a place or kinds of people you want to work with. You want to spend 5 years, 2 years, 10 years of working with together. People have fun here. So those are, I'd say, 3 different things that differentiate what makes a good Web3 VC. And it could be a whole conversation about what differentiates them,
Definitely. I mean, like timing and transparency is definitely key. I mean, not specifically for, I'm not saying that specifically for Web3, but like as a good VC, timing is so important for entrepreneurs. You wanna give them you want to be really quick and really transparent to make sure that everyone is moving fast. But I get your excitement regarding the innovation, the high innovative aspect of Web3 is changes. The margin of innovation in classic fintech is way more smaller, and it's just you can play with models and reinvent how to create innovative models all the time with Web3, and I also that's super exciting. Not also in finance, but in products in general. I was getting I'm in love with this kind of product where you don't see it as just a simple one entry product, but as as a system, as we were saying at the beginning. So you are building, for example, we are chatting with more markets that you are chatting with too. And so more markets, they are building at a protocol level. They are building this loan under collateralized loan protocol, and so you can leverage the protocol and build your app on top of this protocol. But you can also as a different as a direct user can just go on their website and use their tool. But so the difference and you can use the tool to borrow, but you can also fund the tool to let other people borrow. So I love the way you can reinvent people collaborate online in general. And so we are always saying that killing the middleman, but I mean it's just reducing the middleman as much as you can. So and creating a healthy system that just let people get organized for one need or for one thing, and so you get the different stakeholders of this need, and then you try to match them in the way that it's just healthy and just works. And when it happens, it's so magical.
It's needed on flow. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself.
So that's great. And so, regarding Dinari Labs? What's your main focus right now?
So again, I'm an associate at Redbeard Ventures. So work across both though. So there I do diligence support and targeted sourcing. So for Dinari, right? So Dinari again is a tokenomics accelerator, and so the impetus there was one, the things you can do that impact tokens are repeatable, right? And so whether it directly impacting the health of an ecosystem or of a project, that's something where, especially as an investor, you want some ability to be able to guide companies through some of the most complex parts of building the business. And doing that effectively. You need good thinkers there. So we thought bringing that expertise in-house is a differentiator, one. But then two, making sure you have, high quality partners to run it with. So like I said, we have a preferred partner network where, we have a curriculum one where our preferred partners, so again, GSR is doing a week in our curriculum. Other firms are doing, certain aspects of the curriculum, et cetera. We do, of course, sections, and we'll cover all different parts of running through your tokenomics, different specific focuses on the demand and supply side during different weeks, which is information you don't typically get clear access to. But then past that, we're investing, like I said, $100K into each company that comes through. So you go through, so the important part there is getting direct support from the different ecosystems, depending on who you're interested in working on. But then also getting direct support from a VC firm who can then syndicate it, distribute the deal to a large network of qualified angel investors already, or make strategic intros to other VCs. All of those we felt are some of the most important, go to market, token, and then fundraising are some of the most important things founders need to go from 0 to 1. Why not bring it in house?
That's great. That's amazing, and I'm really happy that we have the opportunity to collaborate together with the Flow blockchain ecosystem and trying to supercharge all those amazing bold founders. Speaking about founders, what's a good pitch? What's a good deck? Because that can be a hard task for a founder.
Yeah.
We can see like sometimes they're putting like way too much information. The way I talk, for example,
Yeah.
I'm doing too long sentence.
No,
So
I think this is a really important point. And Anthony, I mean, I'd say here, candidly, so my kind of workload or range is I'm saying call it between 30 and 50 pitches a week.
Yeah.
So between 6 and 10 meetings a day of just founders, let alone actual work that needs to happen at Redbeard in Denard. All right. So there, I see tons. And so what stands out for me, and it can vary for founders, it can vary across investors. What stands out for me first is the person.
Yeah.
Is can they talk from their user's perspective about their problem in depth, offhand? So forget the deck. Like the deck's important, and especially depending on the VC, like you'll need to go through the deck, etc. But the depth of their problem from their user's perspective, ultimately you're selling to your users. And so to the degree you understand the problem space, you can tell that in the first couple of minutes by how the problem's presented. And then two, make sure in the whole pitching in the process that the fund you're pitching to is interested in your problem at that given point in time.
Yeah.
Right? Because regardless, and this is to the point of the deck, regardless of how the deck looks, if the problem is not interesting and there isn't a conviction around the scale of the solution, it won't be the deck can be pretty, but you won't get invested in. So make sure there's a kind of VC founder match, that we're interested in your problem. And then two, make sure you have a deep understanding of your problem, because that's not only good for VCs, that's good for you as a founder. But what makes a good deck, I think, excuse the qualifiers there for everyone, but on the specifics of what makes a good deck, bring your problem up as early as possible, especially, knowing your audience. VCs want to know kind of what are you raising at, will you have these sorts of things early. Spend time on the competition space, on the competition part. The reality is a lot of people are building in kind of concentrated sectors. Not to say everybody's building the same thing, but people are building in a lot of the same areas. Gaming right now is getting a ton. AI right now is getting a ton. Infra stuff is always getting a ton, still getting a ton. So making sure, bring some of that hot topic stuff up early and frame. I would always frame a pitch through what's your problem? And then, so kind of what's your problem, your solution, right? Why it's valuable in whatever way you want to frame that. And then I go kind of, so why it's valuable there, that's competition, and make sure you're clearly communicating why you're different in that framework. And then business model.
You get the recipe now.
That'd be my, because if you think from anyone's perspective, that takes you clearly through what are you building?
Yeah.
Why are you different from the other hundreds of things I've seen around this? Make that clear. And then how can you deliver venture scale return? That's the chain of thinking that a VC will go through. So.
Yeah, what's the secret sauce? How you make it different? So what are the hot topics for you right now? Because we are speaking a lot about RWA. There's a lot of speak about so RWA is like real world asset, how we connect real world asset on chain.
Yeah.
We are speaking a lot about programmable IP, what I like to call NFT, because that's just, for me, it's just a new branding for NFT, because NFT had a bad branding.
DePIN is a new branding for IoT.
Exactly. It's like, oh, wow, okay, so let's reinvent something new.
Shout out to all the builders doing it.
Exactly. I'm not mocking the space. I'm just saying that like we should always leverage a lesson from the past, and just saying that that's not that different. So we can potentially connect the dots with what worked in the past, what didn't work in the past, and not reinvent the wheel every day. And again, like I'm not mocking anyone. I'm just saying like everything is connected. So let's just like create synergies and build on top of what we know. So yeah, what would be like the hot topic for you right now?
Yeah, I mean, I've said this 3 or 4 times, but it'd be decentralized AI for us, and that can go in different areas. I think the app, so a couple, I'd say 2 probably. The app layer for us is incredibly important. It's another reason why we're bullish on Flow. I think one, with the Cadence infrastructure, et cetera, building it into the architecture of the blockchain to be able to support enterprise use cases. That's literally why it was closed. Why Flow's kind of development happened the way it did. Building killer apps is still the point of like a SaaS product, right? Regardless of crypto, et cetera, et cetera. So chains and ecosystems that concentrate resources in structured thinking, whether it's the kind of validator system and you all's different nodes, the different frameworks for how the nodes work, and the different jobs that they do, et cetera, et cetera. Architecture around that's incredibly important. So that's one. Yeah. So app layer is incredibly important. And again, getting good product thinking, that's still something that the space needs. People that have the expertise of, having sophisticated product marketing functions, understanding content marketing, these are all important pillars for building, killer applications and, educating your consumer and then attracting people who need that problem solved. So app layer is really important. And I'd say decentralized AI is really important for us as well. And it's simply, a couple of things. One, building specific models. So like building smaller models, whether they're GNNs or LLMs, et cetera. The training, the compute, et cetera, like how you can get into an agentic framework. That's breakthrough innovation in core AI, like in just AI broadly, and blockchain technologies are being used across there. Whether it's decentralized compute, who are actual winners there? How do you get to scalability there? That's really important. And then I'd say the agent differentiators as well. And this gets into use cases within games, et cetera. We just talked to some great builders, even on Flow, that are thinking about this as well. But in the context of Flow or outside of it, chatbots are still, and not just chatbots, but high IP interactions with LLMs is still a part of what's going on at the app layer in decentralized AI. And past that, whether it's context specific models that are built on company data, whether it's all sorts of other use cases where you're taking where you're building new things, that like the interaction layer for decentralized AI is something that we're focused on too.
I love it. Personally, I was like, I saw a lot about like how you can leverage the data being used in model and the blockchain technology. I think there is a huge bridge right here. So if you think like, so you can build like some funny thing, like you can build, imagine like you build like, you have like a Michael Jordan NBA Top Shot NFT and Jordan or LeBron James. You have LeBron James, LeBron NFT, and then you can make your NFT speak. And potentially, if you have like XYZ moment, you can unlock some souvenir. And so you can chat. And so you can see it as like a small diskette, the diskette from the 80s. So you just like, if you have this NFT, you can chat about this souvenir. Or it's like also like the Harry Potter. I don't know if you remember this scene in Harry Potter. They're just like putting the souvenir into the machine, and they can. I don't remember how they call that in Harry Potter. But like, so I was just having fun thinking about this, about like how you can like potentially create like make do this kind of, for example, NBA Top Shot like live by just like chatting with the player. Leaving the souvenir in a different way. But in a more general approach, it's like how like you can also respect the IP and the content and the value of the content that is being used into a model. And so like, okay, like if you are calling this XYZ data set that is stored in a NFT format, then it's getting easier to just redistribute the value created out of it. So if I'm using like 5 data sets that are stored in like 5 NFT format, this model use those data set, and then just with people paying for the model, then you can retribute the people who created the content back then. So back then on the other side, sorry. So I'm just that's just a first idea. So I'm not doing it. So if you want to build it. But just call me first, and I will. I want to share. But I was just thinking about like my first thinking about blockchain and AI. That was like IP redistribution system.
I mean, and this gets back to what excites me about Web3, and it's just a lot of the time you can't imagine how Web3 is used until it's happening.
Yeah.
Like until it's right. I mean, decentralized lending wasn't clear, and like all the different stuff, like all the different DeFi stuff that's happened since 2021, call it.
Yeah.
Whether it's that, again on decentralized AI, again on Deepin, we're seeing a ton of new interesting people abstracting phones. They're building like replications of phones in your software, or like in the phone itself, so you can upgrade a cheap smartphone into like an iPhone caliber smartphone, build apps on it. So like whether it's that, whether it's weather data and other things, we invested in WeatherXM. What excites me is it's just like with most technology, it's not clear what are the killer use cases, but it's clear that you have smart people concentrating the energy here.
Yeah.
That's enough to bet on.
Yeah, definitely. And you want to make, and that's what gets me excited about the Flow technology in general, is like the Flow blockchain technology. It's the experience all around, because so just to give you a little bit of context also to all the new viewer and the new audience that are not like too familiar with Flow. So Flow has been created by the Flow team. Originally created CryptoKitties in 2017 because that was like the kind of first proof of concept. Iconic in the space. If you're not familiar with Web3, that was like the first proof of concept as like digital sovereignty for user, as like you could like and leveraging the first NFT standard format as like ERC-721 that's been like written by Dit, the current like chief of architecture at Flow blockchain, and now this format, this standard is being used by everyone in the industry. And so they launched this CryptoKitty game that was so fun. You could like buy a cat, you could merge the different cat, but that was kind of like that was a consumer product on Ethereum that was so successful that it actually reached like 30% of the gas fees being used during that day. So the network, I didn't want to say that, but yeah, we broke the network. So we broke the network, and we also realized that like the need of like of an infrastructure that was a bit more consumer ready and consumer oriented, and focus on experience. And so that's how they built the Cadence programming language, that is the native language, programming language of Flow blockchain. That is,
and just to dive in that, I mean, you all, the core innovation of Cadence was identifying, places to improve solidity.
Yeah.
Right. On whether it's embedding in kind of your resource optimization within the code. I won't go too deep, but that's a part of the history of why Cadence was developed.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
It's exactly that. There was like getting all the frustration that you can have as a Solidity developer, and making sure that like you can remove like so basically you can create amazing on-chain logic.
Sure.
And Solidity is an amazing language too, but it's a bit more complex to build.
Sure.
Higher level on-chain logic, or it can be risky sometimes because you need really to cover all the different use cases or potential breach, and we know that security is an important topic, even more in our space. And so Cadence is doing that. Cadence is like kind of like you have like built-in function into the programming language that you can easily use. It's like a set of tools that to create a higher on-chain logic, and to serve the purpose of like the experience of the product experience. So you should practically even think about it as like it's not only like a back-end logic. It's a smart contract logic. It goes into the UI too. So it's really how you can create like an amazing experience on chain. And so they built Cadence. Then with Cadence, they built also the architecture and Flow blockchain in 2020, and they released NBA Top Shot that went super viral at the time. In 1 year, I think they went from $0 to $1 billion volume. That was crazy. It was one of the biggest consumer product at the time. Like super easy onboarding. You can just like give your email, login, and credit card, and buy your first Top Shot for $2.
The Dapper wallet was really critical in getting users on. Being able to pay in multiple ways, use the easier UI, which is partly because of Cadence. That's all. Yeah, part of it.
And I mean, like, and now, like, we are seeing, like, everyone is looking at your user experience because it's otherwise, if you don't look at it, it's so expensive to acquire user. It's like it's like we are the attention span on internet is 6 seconds. It's below the redfish, right?
Yeah.
So it's so I'm not sure
like
it's a good
13
news.
seconds for a redfish or something. I don't know.
Exactly. So you need to be quick.
For sure.
You need to be quick to share your message and to share a great experience. And also, it's not free to acquire a user. We know that, like, so or you're lucky enough to be really creative or to buzz with XYZ marketing content, but that doesn't last forever. Then you need to do acquisition strategies that are a bit more like classic, and that's more and more expensive. We know that, like advertising on classic channel like Google, all the different social media is going up, and so yeah. Anyway. So just saying that, like, if you don't focus, if you don't pay extra attention to your conversion funnel, and you start your acquisition, you're gonna lose a lot of money. And that's why, like, Flow is a great infrastructure for that. Is to make sure. And so I think that's what they understood back then when they launched like Top Shot, then they launched NFL All Day, then they brought like Ticketmaster on chain, then they brought and they minted like multiple millions of tickets directly on chain. They also brought like Disney on chain. So it's kind of like it's also helping the whole Web3 industry to just push forward and start to make those brands sensitive to like digital sovereignty and how you can let your community be part of your brand and own this content. And then it's like, and it's a process. I mean, like, it's always like it's always tricky, like, because like when you work with IP and license, I think you need to be extra careful also to understand, to respect like the brand ecosystem, the brand image and everything. But at the same time, when you go to a shop and you buy like some Nike shoes, you are allowed to walk anywhere with those shoes. And so you should do the same thing with your NFT. You should not stay like in like just walk into the shop. So
geofence your shoes.
Exactly. Exactly. So you can use it actually. So yeah, I mean, like, I think they created this amazing breakthrough back then in 2020, and now we spend.
So I feel like that's not highlighted enough.
Yeah.
There's a history here of good prime consumer applications being built here.
Yeah.
And now it's about taking it to the next level. Right?
Exactly.
Part of.
And those last, I would say, like 3 years was all about like understanding all the need of consumer product made by Dapper Labs, and making sure that we can, as a Flow Foundation, that the product team can integrate all the features that are needed for the Dapper Labs and all the people building on Flow. But of course, because of the relationship in between Dapper Labs and Flow Foundation, that was a really like iterative process of like, how can we integrate new user experience features at a protocol level that make apps amazing to use, and by leveraging the experience with like all the Dapper Labs like product being built, and of course all the different products, not only Dapper Labs product, but all the product being built on Flow in general. But what I'm trying to say here is that I'm getting really excited about what's coming next, because we spent the last 3 years fine-tuning like all those amazing features at a protocol level, so that it's kind of like a full stack chain. Sorry, and so you can, as a developer, you can just arrive and you can just arrive and use all those features directly that are already made, and so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You have like a boilerplate that is way lighter than a classic boilerplate for dev in Web3. And so right now, what we are looking at is what we call the crescendo upgrade. So crescendo upgrade will be the time is all about creating this EVM zone on the Flow network, so that we can make sure that like we can create this synergy and this collaborative approach with the entire Web3 ecosystem and beyond. So making sure that any people on knowing already Solidity can deploy their contract on Flow with zero code changes. So that was our commitment. Our commitment was to say like, we don't want them to they should not need to upgrade anything into their code. Just change one endpoint and you hit deploy, and your app became free and fast in a couple of seconds. So we are trying to put the message out there also, like saying like all the amazing, like I think the Web3 apps should be free to use. You shouldn't pay for gas, or at least you should be able to decide who is paying for gas. And like so potentially it's the brand paying for gas. So we have these kind of features right now on Flow that can ease the whole experience. So yeah, Crescendo is all about being able to create this collaborative approach with the entire industry and to welcome everyone and any apps, any kind of OpenSea, Uniswap, all the big players out there that can just like deploy on Flow. But also now that they deploy on Flow, they can now also leverage the cadence zone of zone of the network, where they can. So you deploy your smart contract to just like access speed and zero cost transaction, and then you leverage your user experience by leveraging the cadence zone with all the cadence built-in feature for specifically the experience and
for developers that all made sense, and so for our non-technical audience, and for people new to Web3, etc. At a high level, what Crescendo allows is a lot of stuff's being built, in Solidity, candidly, right? And so being able to, a lot of stuff's built in Cadence as well, especially consumer apps, right? But there are specific areas such as like DeFi and other things, opening up access to users. And so with Crescendo, there's going to be EVM equivalents. So essentially, opening up access to users and developers, it's making it easier for people to build stuff on and use their native, use whatever wallet they want, et cetera, to come in and get the access to apps being built on Flow. And so that's incredibly important, just in understanding the development and what goes into the decision, et cetera, et cetera.
Definitely. I mean, like that. And also, I love that you're pointing that out. It's like also it's opening the liquidity also. Like liquidity is important for any space to make sure that you can like you can let the builder build and you can let the user also play around, because even if liquidity is not the finality of Web3, it's of course a big component of it, and you should not be limited in this space. So with Crescendo, it's opening all the barriers, and I think that's going to be an exciting moment, and we're going to welcome like tons of like. I think right now it's like 25 or 30 new partners coming to Crescendo for the Crescendo upgrade, and excited to see like what people are gonna build during your incubation program, acceleration program, and again for the audience, like go to the Deanery Lab website. Fill up the form, follow Josh's advice regarding the deck and how to be straightforward with the. You wanna highlight the problem. You wanna you want to understand the user problem and make sure that like you have a secret sauce to solve that problem. Do you want to add anything important?
Yeah, I mean, listen. Being a builder is being a builder. In launching my startup, right, before becoming a VC, that was one of the best thrills of my life, one of the best parts of my career. It's difficult. Keep hustling, and I think as far with all these programs, et cetera, Flow, et cetera, a lot of that it's all built for you in mind. So know that you have that native experience. Our team all of us were entrepreneurs beforehand and came in because we want to fix a lot of the problems and things that we had when we were fundraising as founders and when we were operating as founders. And so understanding that people empathize with you and want to see you succeed. That's a part of why we've built what we've built. So.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Don't be afraid. Knock at any door. Speak to everyone. Be smiley. You don't need to look like too serious for the people to take you seriously. You can actually have fun, and that made the things way more easier. And definitely, like I mean, I built a couple products in my life also in the past, and I definitely encourage anyone to contact you for the program. And that's. that's a chance right now to like build with also some some external point of view to help you like also give you a little bit of distance with what you are doing. It's because I think a great builder is of course passionate, but is also able to zoom out and be pragmatic about the decision sometimes. Sometimes you don't want to be pragmatic because that's not rational. And that's great too.
It takes hope.
It's a bit more risky.
No.
Yeah, it takes all. It's all about cycles. But yeah, thank you very much for spending this time with me, and we're gonna share all that with our amazing community. Go to Dinari Labs website, fill up the form, be part of this program, and yeah, that's your adventure, guys.
Excited. Awesome.
Thank you very much.